Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today, let's discuss something. Who owned the Darksaber first, Jedi or Mandalorian? Now, this black-bladed weapon is one of the most unique sabers in the entire Star Wars galaxy, but its history and who exactly created it can get a little bit confusing. So what exactly is the Darksaber? How is it any different from a lightsaber? And who was its first owner? If we take a quick dive into the records of the Galactic Republic, we can try to answer all three of these questions at once. Now, long before Darth Maul ever got his hands on the Darksaber, the Jedi recruited a young Mandalorian to its order, Tar Vizsla. This child would go on to eventually become one of the most powerful Jedi Knights of his generation. But unfortunately, we don't have that much information about his life and deeds. If we look at the new canon, we know that Tar Vizsla was a member of the Jedi Order during the Old Republic, but we can't say an exact date. All we know is that he was around before its fall, which the new canon indicates might have been about 1000 BBY, but the legends say something different. If we do some investigating and lean on legends material, we can probably make a more accurate guess. The greatest conflicts of the Old Republic occurred from 5000 BBY to 3950 BBY, starting with Naga Sadow's invasion of Republic space during the Great Hyperspace War, and ending with the Sith Civil War. Towards the later end of that period, around 4000 BBY, the Mandalorians teamed up with the Sith Lords like Exar Kun and Ulic Qel-Droma, eventually besieging the core world of Coruscant in an attempt to take over the galaxy. Now, if I were to make a guess, I'd say it's most likely at that time, the young Mandalorian we would come to know as Tar Vizsla was accepted into the Jedi Order. Any time after that, the degree of anti-Mandalorian sentiment within the Jedi Order would be too high, especially considering the Jedi-Mando war that came soon after Exar Kun's failed revolution. Or, it could have just been before the final battle of the new Sith Wars on Ruusan in 1000 BBY, or 1000 years before A New Hope. Now, during Vizsla's time in the Order, he learned the ancient ways of the Force, and when the time came for him to create his own lightsaber, he chose an extremely unique design. Instead of a rounded blade, like Jedi have wielded since the earliest Force sabers appeared on Tython 20,000 years earlier, Tar Vizsla created a flat-bladed weapon. At first glance, you wouldn't be wrong to guess that the Mandalorian was actually wielding a Cortosis blade or a Vibro sword. The difference between the Darksaber and lightsabers is that jarring. Vizsla's weapon was also a bit shorter than the typical 3-foot-long lightsabers that other Jedi of his era wielded, presumably knights like Nomi Sunrider or Silvar of Cathar. But when we look at the Darksaber, we shouldn't just think, wow, this is a very unique lightsaber, and stop investigating. You have to take it a little bit further and wonder why Tar Vizsla created a weapon like this. What were his influences? Now, among the ancient records of the Jedi Library on Coruscant and on Ossus, there were likely archives that detailed the ancient Force-imbued blades from the earliest Jedi on Tython. Prior to the formation of the Republic, in 25,000 BBY, the Jedi used Durasteel swords as their primary weapon. A Jedi Master of Metallurgy would use an ancient technique to transform the blades into conduits for the Force. When a Jedi lifted the hilt of the blades in their hands, they would focus all of their powers on the sword and imbue it with the Force, giving it a powerful glow and the power to cut through almost anything. The similarities between those ancient Force-imbued blades and Tar Vizsla's Darksaber is uncanny. But considering that Tar Vizsla would eventually leave the Order and become the leader of all the Mandalorians, the ancient heritage of the Jedi probably wasn't on his mind during the creation of the Darksaber. Instead, we should turn our eyes to the ancient history of the Mandalorians. Before they became a multi-species culture, the earliest Mandalorians were actually a humanoid alien known as the Tongs. Much like the later Mandalorians who would besiege the Republic and nearly bring it to its knees, the Tong society revolved around ritualistic combat and honor. It was in those trials of combat that we can find a bladed weapon that bears a striking resemblance to the Darksaber, the Beskad. Typically about 1.5 feet in length, the Beskad was much shorter than a lightsaber, and even quite a bit smaller than the Darksaber. But its single blade design and black hilt must have surely been a powerful symbol of Tar Vizsla's youth. It's possible, and maybe even likely, that the Beskad was the ultimate inspiration for Vizsla's Darksaber when he was creating it. So I hope this helps clear up a few things. Now, there isn't a definitive answer, of course. This is just what's out there in books, on the internet. And what I also think is that maybe the Darksaber doesn't even have a crystal. Maybe that's what makes it so powerful, so special, and so different from other lightsabers. Perhaps it was wielded by magic, sorcery, Maybe the Mandalorians, just like the witches of Dathomir, had their own sorts of mages and witches that are long but extinct. Perhaps they're the ones who created the Darksaber. Perhaps Tar was so powerful that he created the Darksaber out of the Force itself, imbuing the hilt with the Force and creating the blade to last forever. So now that we know that Tar Vizsla was the creator and first owner of the Darksaber, if you didn't already know, and the weapon was actually a type of lightsaber, it's not related to vibra-swords or any other type of bladed arm. So, what I want to know going forwards is what the heck is so special about that crystal? Why is there no other lightsaber like this out in the galaxy that we've seen? Hopefully we get those answered someday in canon. Until then, I hope you enjoyed this little bit of info and theory video. Have an awesome rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, remember, the Force will be with you, always.